So I'm speaking with composer and musician Fred Coury. Fred is best known for his career in the rock world, being the drummer for the band Cinderella. Fred started in music very early, though, before his career took him on the path to becoming part of a hit rock band. Fred has since started his own company, Double Forte Music, that provides original music across many mediums. His career as a film and TV composer, Fred has been adding his unique voice as a storyteller to series like NBC's The Night Shift and The Wall. Fred, thanks so much for talking today.
Oh, my pleasure.
So your musical background is such a unique one, but I would love to know kind of if when was the earliest memories you have of falling in love with music, and what made you pursue the path that you took, and then I guess at what point did you decide to focus on composing for film and TV?
Well, as far back as I can remember, music has been a part of my life. My dad was a violinist. My mom's a pianist. So at 5, I was already starting really to study. I mean, I showed an interest before that, but at 5, I started actually playing violin and making noises on it, I guess. And at 6, I was performing. So it just kind of, I guess that was the gift that I was given, was the musical bug.
Right.
And so it kind of, I don't want to say it came easy, but you know when you watch the videos of kids on television doing whatever on YouTube, and they're just doing something really, you just can't believe it's such a young age.
Yeah.
It's that kind of thing. It just kind of happened, and it went on from there. I just fell in love with all parts of music, not just violin, but anything that made a sound or really kind of made a melody. I fell in love with, which is very strange because of the drums.
Right.
That kind of ended up, but the drums were just, to pick up girls. I couldn't be a violinist and so there's the truth on that one. But then in the band, trying to remember when I wanted to be a composer for film and TV, I never thought the band would last 30 years. I thought it was just a 15-minute thing. I was very fortunate to have it happen, and I always thought that was the last tour.
Mm-hmm.
And they just kept going on and on and on and on and on. And but during that, I still had in the back of my mind, it's like, how long can this last? And my mom always taught me it's a job. Treat it as such. It's
Right.
not a party. This is something serious. So hence my no drugs, no alcohol, no anything. Because it was a job. And I think I was always paranoid of it ending. But during that, I started making music for what I thought should have been for pro sports, for the Kings. And I started just doing songs and tracks that I thought would be perfect for them. They had no idea who I was. And that was while I was on the road. And I think it just evolved into what it is now. But I think it was a conscious effort that, I'm going to be a film composer. Right. I just wanted to do something other than be in a band.
So you're coming from that world as a drummer in a rock band. It's not rare, because you look at other composers that come from that world, like Cliff Martinez is a great example. He was drummer for the Red Hot Chili Peppers, and so when you moved into this scoring world and kind of film and TV and writing for sports, did you find that all your skills that you learned with Cinderella, did that kind of transfer over, or did you have to realize, like, oh crap, I need to learn some new stuff, I need to catch up and learn these things to be able to work in this field?
Well, in sports, it kind of all fell into place. Just because my classical background, heavy theory, heavy classical training really came into play with my hard rock heavy background. They fit perfectly together for the sports world. It wasn't until I started trying to score the picture that I thought, I better get this together. because it didn't just happen.
Right.
Like the other stuff, uh, I, I really didn't know what to do. I was kind of looking at it and I thought, okay, dialogue, that's kind of like my singer. So uh, I'm like the band now, the whole band around the singer. So I better. I've always been a drummer that plays for the song,
Mm-hmm.
never step on vocals, never. And I kind of infused that into my scoring,
Oh, that's
which I
interesting.
think was the right, kind of the only way to do it. But then I started going to school. I went to the UCLA film and TV program, and then I did the Berkeley online uh, program, which was really great. And it was great training, and it kind of either reinforced what I was thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, it definitely did that, but it also taught me so many new things. Just even how to work with orchestras with a click, and if I'm using my synths and my fake drums with real drums, and how to add that all together and present it. And we had conducting classes and things like that. So I've always been in an orchestra, looking up at the conductor, and I've either been in an orchestra as a violinist, or I've played trumpet in an orchestra. I've also played percussion in an orchestra. So I kind of know how all that goes. But the person writing this stuff for all of us, that was totally something. Oh, you should have heard the clarinets and the trumpets in my first piece. Oh, that was not fun. What are you doing? We're playing what you wrote. Oh.
Well, I mean, yeah, for sure, it's a process, and I think one of the on your filmography, I think one of the first series that popped up was I guess you were writing a few episodes for Gene Simmons' Family Jewels, the reality show.
Yeah,
Was that a good way to sort? Was that kind of like one of your first writing to picture projects?
it was my first real one.
Wow.
Um, and I ran into Gene. I'd known him forever, just from our past backgrounds.
Right.
And he was walking down the street, and I ran into him. I was on a jog, and I ran into him, and one thing led to the next. And he asked what I was doing, and I said, "Oh, I score for TV." And he said, "Really? I have a TV show." I didn't, though. I didn't score it. I've never scored anything to TV.
Right.
Um, so so he said, "Oh, really? Are you any good?" And I was like, "Oh boy, what would Gene want to hear? What would Gene say?"
Right.
And I said, "I'm very good." And he goes, "Well, walk with me." So we walked. He introduced me. They were shooting the show, and he introduced me to his producer. And he said, "This is Fred Coury. Says he's a TV composer. If he's any good, let's put him to work." So the next, the one thing led to another, and I FedExed a bunch of music to the producer, and a couple of days later they called and they were like, "You can have season 3." And Gene was great. He said, "I'm not going to take anything from you. The only thing that I ask is you turn this into something big."
That's awesome.
And basically just gave me my start. And then when I told him I had an NBC show a few years later, I was at a wedding for Bruce Kulick, who used to play guitar in Kiss, and Gene was there. And he was so happy. It was like a proud dad. He was so happy that I had done something with the gift that he gave me. And that was really quite touching and really sweet of him. And yeah, he got me my start, my
Well,
first start.
yeah, that is
Yeah.
amazing. So,
Hmm.
what is, I guess, in your opinion, what is the biggest difference between performing on stage to thousands of screaming fans versus kind of working alone most of the time in a studio trying to come up with that one tune? What's the biggest difference to you? Do you like it more? Do you like that? Is it a better creative environment for you?
They're different. Um, Not really any pressure in the
Mm-hmm.
live thing or the band thing.
Right.
You're not addressing notes. You're not really answering to 50 people.
Right.
Um, and it's kind of more of a team effort. And it's a lot of hard work, but it doesn't feel like work. TV is a lot of the same, but the pressure is enormous.
Yeah, I can
Um,
imagine. Yeah.
it's ridiculous. You turn in a piece of music and just wait for everybody to tell you how much it sucks, basically.
Yeah.
And that's just the truth. That is the ugly truth that nobody wants to talk about. That's what notes are. Change this. Do this. You didn't do this right. I don't think it's you didn't do this right, but this is what we want. This
Right.
is what we want.
It's trying to
So
find
you
what they
have
need.
to,
Yeah.
right. So you have to be a mind reader. You have to have your super duper secret decoder ring, and you always have to have that and I've found that in production with pop and things where people will give you notes, the artists or whoever, if I'm mixing a record or if I'm producing a record. Notes aren't called notes, but that's what they want. Can you make that a little fluffier? And you have to kind of decipher what fluffier means.
Right.
Or, you know what I mean? Can you make that more felt-like? Felt, sure, yeah, I can do felt. Any specific color you'd like? But those are kind of the differences between being in a band and being in TV. They're both awesome. And when you finish with something, it's incredible.
Absolutely.
And it's the best feeling on the planet. But I'd say the TV film world is a lot more demanding. But that's coming off of a career of 30 years of a certain level, and here I'm kind of just entering into the TV film world. So I'm sure in 30 years I'll be like, it was so easy. You know what I mean?
Right. And I mean, and that, yeah, and you're working on Night Shift right now, which is, coming into its fourth season, I believe, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
so kind of rewinding back a little bit, when you started working on it, what were kind of the initial conversations of what the series needed musically, and kind of, I guess, what was the process of finding the sound of the show and what you wanted the music to provide?
Well, Gabe Sachs and Jeff Judah brought me on to do this. I remember I was out having dinner one night, and I got a call from Gabe Sachs, who I had met. I'm on the advisory board for the LA Kings with him. And we were just friends for a few years on that board together, not thinking of anything. He put some of my music in 90210 and that Courtney Cox show. But just like songs that I had done and songs that I had written.
Right.
And I got a call, I don't know, it was late. It was like 9:30 at night. And they said, hey, can you come down to Sony tomorrow? And I said, sure. You guys need some music? And they were like, no, we want to talk to you about composing for the show. And I was like, oh my gosh. First thing that went through my head is, what have I gotten myself into? So I said, sure, I'll go down there. And the initial conversation was, this show takes place in Texas. Nobody on the show has a Southern accent, and we need a sense of place. And they asked me a few things, and I was like, well, how about lap steel and a lot of open tunings and some baritone guitars for something guttural. And I gave them a couple examples, and they said, that's exactly what we were looking for.
Wow. And
then over the course of time, themes developed for the different characters and different sounds, and they were very involved in that. I play them, what do you think of this? What do you think of that? And a lot of the time in TV, until they hear something, they don't know what they want.
Right.
And then when they hear it, it's just set in stone. So that happened a lot.
That's awesome. So and
yeah.
With 4 seasons now, do you kind of and it's not like full on, I think, 22 episodes. These are kind of more like cable seasons, like 10 to 13 episodes.
Yeah.
So do you get to treat each season kind of as one cohesive whole? Do you kind of get an idea of all the scripts of where the whole season arc is going, or do you kind of tackle it one episode at a time type deal?
I try to get the whole thing, but sometimes we don't have it. So I think season 2 we had the whole thing. We had the whole arc of the season. Mm-hmm. So I got to do that. Season 3, This show has always been, we don't know if we're getting picked up or we are, and it's always late
Right.
in that. So this season, I haven't seen past the fifth episode a script. So I know they're shooting now the seventh. But I am so deep in it, I haven't seen, and I don't think anything is, I don't think, actually they're shooting the sixth. I don't think anything is finished, um, completely finished. I'm getting revisions of the scripts as they go, but
Right.
there's no way to tell where it's going at the end. We have an idea, but
So when you, I guess, from the start, how has the music kind of evolved across all the seasons? Has your process changed at all? Have you tried to change the sound? Has the characters of the story kind of given you an opportunity to introduce a new style or anything, or have you found kind of a set tone for the show?
it is a set tone, but I have been expanding throughout year after year. I'm adding to the template. I'm trying to go, like this year I'm going a little more synth heavy,
Mm-hmm.
and just creeping it in where it's not really noticeable. Something is noticed that it's changed, but the overall core, it's basically like the core of the sound is the band, and now we're adding background singers and we're adding percussionists and we're adding things, but the band is still the band.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I mean, I just wanted to congratulate you too, also on the show that keeps on going. I mean, you did mention that you don't know if you're gonna get picked up or not, and that's always kind of the scary world of television. But you're 4 seasons in now, and I think that says something about the show and its longevity, hopefully. And I did want to congratulate you on all the amazing music that you've been contributing, and it's amazing to watch your career on this journey so far, Fred. So I just want to thank you again for your time today.
Thank you so much. That's so kind. Thank you very much.